Hello, my name is Ryan Smith, and I am with the Rotary District 7930. And today I'm going to try to walk you through the grant submission process through the Rotary website. It's a very functional website, but it is not very intuitive. So here I've come to the primary website, Rotary 7930. I've logged in as Ryan Smith. Now I will click on Member Area. Once you're in the member area, you want to click on the Grants tab, and then from there, click on My Club Grants. Once in this area, you can see any current grants or previous year grants. Make sure to check the year up here if you can't find a recent grant that you had. If you want to create a new grant, you select Submit a Grant Request here on the left. And in this section, you put a very quick and easily recognizable name that reflects your grant, the project year, usually spans over 2 years, country, state, zip code, city, and then a very brief description. 2 sentences max would be terrific in this area. There's plenty of room to describe the project in the next section. And then ballpark estimated budget for this grant as you know it today. Once all that information is in, click the Submit button, and then it'll take you on to the next screen. I am going to hit Cancel because I have another project for us to go and look at that's already pre-populated. So when you click the Submit button, you're then brought to a dashboard very similar to what you see here. Name your projects up at the top, grant project, primary sponsoring club, Newburyport, contact in this case Dan Hartman, when it was submitted, and ballpark financing. Down below are multiple tabs that are very important to this website. The first tab here is Details. You'll see a review of the information you just put together. If anything looks wrong, go ahead and correct it, and then click Update. Then we want to add Local Club Partners. This would be, say there's another club that jointly wanted to participate in this project. You can just come in here, Add Club, select the club name of all the different clubs, and then contact person, and then contribution, basically their dollar amount that they plan on contributing to this project. And then you hit enter, and then it would show up there. In this case, we did not have a partner club, but we did have a local organization that we were partnering with, the Newburyport Education. So this is where you add such a partner. You come in, put the name of the organization, the primary contact, first name, last name, and email address, so we know how to reach out to a particular individual. Once this is populated, then you come back up to the top, you click Application. Now, when you click on this for the first time, you'll just see a bunch of blue bars, and you don't know where to put any information. Click on this little arrow, and all of a sudden a big drop-down box comes along. This is the description of what we're looking for. And in this dialog box down here, this is where you can put in your response to answer this question. This is where you can put in all the detailed information, explain what the project is about and who they're helping. And then community assessment, and then fill out the sustainability section. The cooperating organizations, once again, a brief overview of who you're partnering with and the various different roles and responsibilities. And then finally, the implementation plan, how you're going to take this project from the beginning to the end and the approximate timeline when possible. Once this is all squared away, you click on Budget, and all that information will be saved. Now, budget is where we want to list the expenses and the income. So like any budget, this is where we start. So you click on add a budget item, put in a description of the item that is being purchased, who the vendor or the supplier is, and the approximate dollar amount. Then you hit Create. In this case, I'm just going to add it to it. And so if there's multiple vendors, multiple expenses, just add all those in. Here's the total project cost. That is hopefully pretty close to the project estimate that you put on the details page. And then expected income, where the different sources of income that are going to come from it, whether a partnering organization or the district grant. Ideally, the income should match the expenses. Once again, these are just ballpark answers at this point. If you need to edit or change any of these, click on the down arrow once again, click on edit, and you can go back into that and update it at that point in time. Then from there, you click on documents. This is usually the trickiest part. This is where we put any supporting documents for this particular grant. Copies of invoices. In the beginning, when you're submitting the grant, if there's a letter from the sponsoring organization or the beneficiary of the grant, it'd be great to have something loaded up on their letterhead into the system to be able to reference. Also, if there's any quotes from vendors to support your initial budget, that would be great to load in here as well. Basically just scan it, and then it's like attaching a photo to an email. Very simple process, but can be complicated for some. Also down the line, it's very important for the final report, in order for the club to receive the refund of the matching grant, we need copies of all invoices and receipts and the canceled checks, meaning not only just a copy of the check, but the canceled check from the bank that proves not only was the check written, but it was actually deposited by the receiving organization. This is all required by the foundation's auditing process to just ensure that the funds were delivered and paid and received by the appropriate organizations. In order to add one of these documents, I would not add folder. I would not use add multiple or download. Click on the orange add button. And once again, put in a brief description of the document that you're adding. So test invoice. And then a brief description if you want to put it down there, say equipment. And then you want to choose a file to attach. So find out where it is in the computer, click invoice, and then click save. And then that will load up that particular document or image into the computer. And you see it down here in the bottom. Now, I'm going to delete this because it's not actually part of this project. But I would, if you have multiple documents, simply just add one by one. It's a little less complicated and fewer chances for error. And if you click on the project overview tab, this is a nice summary of everything that you put together in a nice format that makes it very easy for the grant review committee with the district to go through all these projects, understand what the project is about, how much it's going to cost, who's involved, in order to provide initial approval for the project. You can print it out yourself with this button. Once the project is implemented and complete, this is the final report. Sometimes it's referred to, but it's very important for the grant sponsor to complete the individual project report. And this is just a series of questions that review the overall project, how it went, who it helped, who is involved. So please go through and provide a brief response to each one of these questions. That would be greatly appreciated. Click on update if you wish. And then this is where you put the detailed breakdown of the final expenses and income. So in this case, you add income just like we did before. We want the date that the check was written, say from here, the Rotary Club, the description of the check, and then the funding source, either district or club, and then the dollar amount. Then down here, we want a list of all the expenses by supplier. So there could be multiple receipts. You could have multiple invoices per supplier. So you could have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 expenses. And the hope here is, once again, when you add up all the expenses, that matches the checks written by the particular club and or the matching grant adding up to that. In this case, it's just kind of inferred that the district would match 50% of this particular donation amount. So sometimes the club can't cover all the expenses, and that's where you would indicate the remainder of the expense maybe was the nonprofit organization that you were supporting, or a private donation. Once again, try to account for all the parties that were involved paying for this project. And then once that's all put together, you can hit submit. And then it sends out a notice to all parties. The come and look at this, to either approve the grant to begin, and then at the end of the grant, we review and audit to make sure we have all the invoices, canceled checks, project description has been completed on the individual project report, and then we hit submit, or we hit approve after it has been submitted, and then that then allows the grant committee to distribute the matching funds back to the club at that point in time. Finally, there is an activity log that kind of just shows where we are in the process. And communications back and forth. I will just make note if we're missing anything, there's a button that we hit up here that requests additional information, and that should trigger a series of communications to the primary contact person for the grant and the members of the grant committee that we're looking for additional information. So it's a help if the contact or the grant sponsor comes out on a regular basis, if possible, to see if any additional information is required, provide a quick response, and then that allows us to approve the project and get the funds back to the club as soon as possible. So once again, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I know it wasn't the most exciting one in the world, but hopefully this allows you to see firsthand the process of inputting the grant, and may save you some time and frustration in the process of going through this yourself. Thank you very much for all your help and support in putting together these wonderful projects and helping us track them through this process. Take care.